Welcome back to Pewdiepie. I'm Zui and I hope you enjoyed today's video. But before we get right into it, I'm obligated to remind you to click either the like or dislike button, commenting something down below, and of course sharing the video so more people can see and enjoy it. This is very important as it helps with the YouTube algorithm. I want you to know that your help is greatly appreciated. If you have any suggestions or ideas for a story, my Discord link is in my link tree that is down in the description, as well as my Patreon and Ko-fi for any donations you may want to send my way. Every cent counts. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. When Brian was first confronted with the burning pizzaplex, the day shift guard couldn't believe his eyes. He was quite literally watching his job go up in flames. Thankfully, by the time he had arrived, the fire department was here. Typical. The one day where he arrived at his job 30 minutes early, this had to happen. The distraught man made a few calls. First, the owner Amir. The Indian migrant was furious. Then his dad. He was the current CEO of AVENGERS Robotics. Clearly one of the best people to call right now. The day shift guard could practically hear the ka-ching of money he'd be making from this. Especially after he told him there was a few Fazbear higher-ups willing to rebuild. But only then he called a few higher-ups he knew would definitely be in support of rebuilding the pizzaplex, especially after his dad was already on the case. Obviously his plan worked out. Truthfully, he was just lucky. And then he sat down on the hood of his car as he began informing the other employees. Sure, except for him, no one really liked their job. Most of them just couldn't understand the hidden enjoyment of this almost fully automated entertainment building. But who was he to judge? He informed half of the staff, who then went on to call the others. The guards would call the janitors, and the janitors would call the maintenance staff. It was then the day guard heard the firefighters scream in fear. Quickly, Brian jumped off the hood of his car and rushed to the noise. It was coming from the delivery entrance. And the man's face twisted into a smile. Out of the delivery entrance, burned and battered, came DJ Music Man. And right under the giant robot were the damaged glamrock animatronics, plus the daycare attendant. And Roxy were riding on his back. They all looked horrible. Monty broken in half, Roxy missing one arm and half of her face, and Chica just looked like a zombie. Brian furrowed his brows. No Freddy, it seemed. Well, still. DJ Music Man was the most expensive animatronic of the pizzaplex, and him surviving felt like a sign of a higher being. Something he then celebrated by getting high himself. By the time you got Brian's call, you were already busy as a bee, crushing metal, shredding scrap. You worked at a Fazbear scrapyard. This meant any franchise around the West Coast would send you broken animatronics, pieces and bits. You were meant to sort out the still functioning parts and scrap the broken ones. In fact, it had been this specific scrapyard in your family possession for generations that scrapped the old toy animatronics from way back when. Later on, your family made a killing back then by simply keeping their shells and a few bits and pieces and selling that to an amusement park. Brian was clearly high when he called you. You could hear that out of his voice. Yet what he reported was incredibly distressing. The pizzaplex had burnt down. Dang it. He wanted to go there next month for your birthday. Brian said he would send the animatronics to you. They were in bad shape, but you were not meant to turn them into metal cubes just yet. Fazbear was still considering what was cheaper, repairing or scrapping or making new ones. But knowing the track record of the company, it was going to be repairing with the newest stuff added to them by AVENGERS Robotics. The Glamrocks, or what was left of them, arrived at a lorry truck. On a clipboard you took inventory. Chica, no beak and broken shell, you muttered. Roxanne, missing eyes, missing arm, and... The robot began to sob and flail her arms. The two men carrying her immediately dropped her and took a few steps back. Most definitely impact damage, you idiots. You rolled your eyes. Monty then came in a wheelbarrow. At first you just thought it was a burnt shell, but no. Monty, broken in half, missing limbs. You took a closer look. Jaw loose. You then focused your attention on the workers. I guess immediately on the scrapper of this one? Actually, no, let me check him later. I still remember that rotten Bonnie one we got a few years ago. There were still some parts. You shrugged. And the higher-ups were pissed off when I just jokingly said straight to the scrapper with you. They really wanted to reuse the parts of this one. These cheapskates. Next up was the daycare attendant. Soot, half-melted face, torn clothes, otherwise no observable damage. He raised an eyebrow. Good. You're one of the lucky ones. As of right now, the hyperactive robot was in factory reset mode, probably because he was making a fuss during transport. So you probably should restore his AI backups later. And finally, strapped to a big transport truck came DJ Music Man. Your eyes widened. Never had something this big in your yard. It was late in the evening when you went on patrol. Your family had a small house in the middle of the scrap heap. You grew up in this dump, and honestly, you really enjoyed it. So far you had checked up on Chica and Roxy. They were really broken. The entire Eternals were twisted and torn and shredded, yet they could still move, and their AIs were fully operational. Chica had her entire voice box missing, which was strange. That had to be done by a third party, which also brought into question the missing eyes of Roxy. And Monty's hands. Come to think of it, where even was the gator? After the wheelbarrow had been deployed, he was just gone. As if on cue, you heard a mechanical scream from just a few feet in front of you. Quickly you approached. Truthfully, it was a bit scary. You pointed your flashlight at the rusty old car, and from its seat poked up the green gator head of Monty. You gulped. You almost screamed in fear. He blinked at you. His body was still covered in soot.
Where am I?
He asked. Okay, so his voice box was still functioning. That's good. Scrapyard. The robot screamed in fear again and jumped through the car's window and quickly crawled away.
No one scrap me!
He shouted. Next time, we turn them off, you said to yourself. Like a disappointed mother on a playground, you chased after the animatronic. Skittering like a bug, he climbed on top of a garbage pile. Come back here, you growled.
I won't be scrapped. You can't make me.
Animatronic shut off self-preservation program code 1987. You couldn't finish the command. As your eyes were fixed on him, you didn't notice a random rusted pipe. You fell forward into muddy water with a loud splash. I'm so done with this, you thought. The robot laughed. You're not here to get scrapped, you're just here to get stored and repaired. You barked at the robot. Monty just blinked before sliding down the scrap heap.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Annoyed, you scrubbed off the mud that covered your overalls. You crossed your arms angrily. I mean what I said. You're here to get stored, cleaned up, working parts taken out, and be put in a new skeleton. You're not scrapped. If anything, you're getting an upgrade. Excitedly, the robot jumped.
Oh, are you serious? Why didn't you tell me sooner?
Judging by what is happening right now, I'm just one cross away in a square on my clipboard to throw you into that. You pointed behind yourself. A metal grinder. The robot shuddered.
Please don't.
Well, you stop running away from me then. The robot nodded, reluctantly. Good. Come. Let's get you back to the workshop. I need to clean you up. If too much dirt gets into your exposed wires and joints, well, it's gonna be annoying. As if to demonstrate how harmful this childish game had been, he raised an arm and moved it a bit. It sounded very crunchy. Thank God you grew up in this junk pile, and you had built up some muscles. With a sigh, you just picked him up.
Piggyback ride. Nice. Never thought I'd ever get that.
He chuckled. Don't get used to it, you huffed. Despite being only a torso with arms, he was still quite heavy. You grunted and heaved.
Who are you, by the way?
Asked the robot. I'm the owner of the Fazbear Scrapyard.
Miss Owner, I see.
Yeah, whatever. You were very uncomfortable right now due to his loose jaw. His plastic teeth were right now digging into your back. But you were paid for this, so might as well endure it. You entered your main workshop. We will grant you through the animatronic on an empty workbench. It was late. Inspecting him now definitely counted as overtime. You made sure to record this for Fazbear Entertainment. Thankfully, Monty lied down patiently.
So how bad does it look?
Slowly you inspected him. His shell was smashed. Taking hold of his arm, you moved his joints. They were too dirty. Definitely no fixing. This little stunt meant he had even less salvage parts now. With your tools, you removed his shell. Longingly, he looked at it as if you threw them on the ground. Now, on closer inspection, his electronics were still functional. How did you lose your legs?
I don't know. I woke up like this in the inferno.
That checked out with what Roxy said. Picking up your clipboard, you began asking the robot a few questions. How he was feeling, testing out his singing voice, making him move parts on his own. You even tried to fix his jaw, but nah, the thing was gone for good.
So what happens to me now?
They will most likely rip out your brain and voice box and put it in a new endoskeleton. Knowing Fazbear, they want to keep your brain intact because backups at Fazbear are normally absolute garbage and only used if absolutely necessary. Plus, I'm sure the servers of the Pizzaplex are fried as well, and therefore no backups are there to begin with. Come to think of it, that might be the main reason the robots weren't scrapped and just replaced with new ones.
That makes me happy, Miss Owner.
The robot then scratched his head in embarrassment.
May I ask you something?
Sure.
Can you put my shell back on? I feel a little naked.
As if to underline what he just said, the loose cables from his chest jiggled a bit. You blushed. He just made this awkward for you. Sighing, you picked up the smashed pieces. With a wet cloth, you quickly and half-heartedly wiped away some of the dirt, before reattaching it to him.
You're a good person, Miss Owner. You'd make a good engineer at the Plex.
Well, say that again when tomorrow I rip that stuff out of you and then send it all back to Fazbear. Monty made a gulp noise. Brian said that the Pizzaplex will be rebuilt, just with more fire safety in mind, whatever the fuck that means. The robot chuckled darkly.
That's funny. With the way my personality is programmed, I had this wish to see a real swamp, to yearn to be outside the Pizzaplex, and yet I feel very homesick right now. Especially knowing that it's all destroyed.
You furrowed your brows. So, why do you feel like this?
Oh, it's simple. This was to encourage kids to go to the other Fazbear franchises, take pictures of other Gator Golf attractions, and then come back to the Plex and show them to me. In return for that, they would get a complimentary Montgomery Gator keychain plush.
You bit your lower lip. You got one of those out of a gacha machine in the Pizzaplex once. You smiled at the memory. Well, don't know if that means anything to you, but you pulled out your house keys. The keychain dangled from it almost proudly. You removed the plush and set it on the Gator's chest. He took it with both of his now skeletal hands.
Ugh, Miss Owner, you're making me so happy.
He moved the toy's soft arms to make it do an air guitar solo. It made you smile a little, and gently you rubbed over the robot's head. You know, you're alright, you said.
What does that mean?
When I was a kid, there was this spooky bunny animatronic, all yellow and rotten. My parents said that the thing is cursed or something, as it randomly just turned on at night and sang happy birthday. I think I was 10 when the thing was deposited here.
What happened to it? And why are you telling me this?
You shrugged. Well, you're not as creepy. Also, about the thing. Some guys came from Fazbear, ripped out some electronics and then left, said they needed it for some game or something.
Interesting, Miss Owner.
Whatever. Monty looked up through an open window. Almost sadly. As if he was reminiscent of something.
Stars. Miss Owner, I know I caused enough trouble already, but would you mind carrying me to a spot outside?
Why? He blinked and then explained how the Pizzaplex didn't have many windows, and the ones it did have shuttered closed at night, meaning he never got to see the sky or the stars before. Normally you would roll your eyes and just say, look at a picture, I'm not your mom. But seeing him all torn and broken, yet still being able to give you these puppy eyes, it just made you sigh and strap him on your back once more. This time he felt a bit lighter, but maybe he could just spread his weight a little better due to not being fussy. You carried him over to a secure, rusty car atop a pile of scrap metal, where you set him on the roof, yourself laid down on the hood. Your scrapyard was a little outside of the city. Allowing the twinkling of the stars to occasionally penetrate through the light pollution. The robot made a noise that imitated a deep inhale and an exhale.
They look like glitches,
He said, entranced. And you furrowed your brows, deciding not to question it further.
but not bad glitches. Fun glitches. You know, like those glitches that make a video game more fun. Yes, those.
You shrugged. I guess? You never really thought about it.
Do you think I would be happy in a new body?
Once again you shrugged. Realizing he couldn't see it, you said, I don't know. Are you programmed to?
I'm programmed to accept. Liking is something else entirely. Miss Owner, can I ask you for One more favor.
You smirked reluctantly. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Can we cuddle?
You blinked. Cuddle?
I'm programmed to require the attention of humans, and the entire day spent in a truck with the others. And then I was just in that wheelbarrow. I just need someone to hold me for a moment.
Sighing, you climbed up the car and curled up next to him, putting one arm on his chest. There you are, you big baby. He chuckled, and after a while, he sighed, in a really sad tone.
Seems my warmth sensors aren't functioning.
You rolled your eyes and pulled him a little closer.
Miss Owner, you realize I still can't feel your heat, right?
Look, you wanted this. Now enjoy it. That's an order. He chuckled.
If you keep these orders up, I might fall in love with you.